I stared at the invitation to Grandma Jacqueline's will reading, crumpled in the kitchen trash. Well, not my invitation. The photo of it my cousin Iris had smugly posted to our family group chat, the one I wasn't included in. My name is Giselle, and I'm what my mother calls the creative disappointment. You know, the one who chose art over law school, who sells trinkets online instead of climbing corporate ladders. The black sheep who apparently doesn't even deserve to say goodbye to the only person who ever believed in me. You can't seriously be surprised, my mother's voice crackled through my phone earlier that morning. You never contributed anything to this family. Why should you be there when we discuss what matters? I gripped my coffee mug tighter, letting the ceramic burn my palms. I was there every weekend for the past year, Mum. Where were you? Managing my practice, building something real, not playing with glitter and glue guns. The words stung, but not as much as they used to. I'd grown immune to the venom over the years. Like last Christmas, when Iris had opened my handmade jewellery box and sneered, "Oh look, another craft project. How quaint." Or my 32nd birthday, when Mum had cornered me in the kitchen. "It's not too late to go back to school, you know. Your cousin Garrett just sold his startup for millions. What they didn't know, what Grandma and I had kept between us, was that my little Etsy shop had paid off the remaining mortgage on her house 6 months ago, after Mum had refused to help, claiming she couldn't spare the money despite her Mercedes lease. Your mother means well, Grandma had whispered that day, as we sat in her sunroom signing papers. She just never learned to see wealth in anything but numbers. I know, Grandma. I'd squeezed her fragile hand. But why keep the secret? Why not tell them I helped? She'd smiled, that knowing smile that always made her eyes crinkle. Because sometimes the best revenge is letting people show exactly who they are. Now standing in my kitchen, I pulled up the family chat one last time. Iris was still going on about the antique silverware she'd always coveted. Garrett was calculating property values. Aunt Sonia was sharing photos of herself crying dramatically by Grandma's favourite roses. My phone buzzed. A private message from Thomas, the family lawyer. You may want to be there tomorrow anyway. Your grandmother left specific instructions. I smiled, remembering the last thing Grandma had said to me just days before she passed. You've already inherited the best parts of me, dear. The rest is just paperwork. My roommate Delaney poked her head in. You okay? I heard the phone call with your mom. Yeah. I took a deep breath. Actually, I'm better than okay. You're not going tomorrow, are you, after how they treated you? I walked to my craft room, my sanctuary of creativity they had all mocked. Pinned to the wall was the first review I'd ever received. This isn't just jewellery, it's wearable art. Below it hung the bank receipt from paying off Grandma's house. Oh, I'm going, I said, deleting myself from the family chat. But first, I'm going to let them fight over ashes. Delaney raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? I touched the deed transfer papers hidden in my desk drawer. It means Grandma taught me more than just crafting. She taught me patience. My phone buzzed again, Iris posting another photo, this time of herself trying on Grandma's pearls, captioned, already practicing my inheritance look. I turned off my phone and started gathering my supplies. Tomorrow would be interesting enough without watching them circle like vultures tonight. Besides, I had a special project to finish. A wind chime made from broken pieces of all the gifts they'd dismissed over the years. You're smiling, Delaney noted. That's your dangerous smile. Just thinking about something Grandma used to say. I picked up my pliers, testing their weight. About how the best art comes from knowing exactly when to reveal your masterpiece. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through my workroom. Somewhere across town, my family was probably already planning how to spend their inheritance. Counting chickens before they hatched, as Grandma would say. Let them plan. Let them scheme and dream and fight. Tomorrow would come soon enough, and with it, a lesson about value that had nothing to do with price tags. I hung the wind chime by my window, watching it catch the last light of day. The broken pieces sang together, creating something new and beautiful from all the fragments they'd tried to shame me for keeping. Just like Grandma taught me. From Delaney's second-floor apartment window, I watched them arrive at Grandma's house like a murder of designer-clad crows. Mum stepped out of her Mercedes first, her black Louboutins clicking against the driveway. Iris followed in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, while Garrett checked his Rolex with practised boredom. They really went all out with the morning attire, Delaney muttered, handing me a fresh cup of coffee. The pearls are a nice touch, I said, watching Aunt Sonia drape herself in what had to be 3 strands. Think she knows those are fake? Grandma sold the real ones last year to help pay her medical bills. My phone buzzed. Thomas again. They're all here. Last chance, if you want to make an entrance. Not yet, I texted back. Let them simmer. Through the window, I could see them clustering in the living room, my living room, though they didn't know it yet. Mum was already running her finger along the mantel, probably checking for dust. Remember when Grandma hosted her last tea party? I asked Delaney, 2 months ago. The one none of them showed up for. She insisted on using her best china. I smiled at the memory. Said, if you wait for the perfect moment, the moment passes you by. So we had Earl Grey and butter cookies, just the 2 of us, while she told me stories about her youth. My phone lit up with a series of rapid texts from Thomas. Your mother just asked about the house deed. Iris is eyeing the antique vanity. Sonia claims she was here all the time during the final weeks. I snorted. Sonia visited once, complained about the hospital bills, then flew to Aspen for a ski trip. Through the window, I watched Garrett pacing, phone to his ear. Even from here, his gestures looked agitated. Last I'd heard, his startup had crashed spectacularly, taking several investors' money with it. Your aunt just said something interesting, Thomas texted. Claims she was managing Jacqueline's medications near the end. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. She wasn't. I was there every day. I had a schedule set up with the nurses. I know, came Thomas's reply. I have the visitor logs. The scene below was getting more animated. Mum had pulled out her reading glasses and was examining every frame on the wall like she was appraising them. Iris had actually opened her laptop, probably already planning where to place her interior design firm's furniture. They really think they're going to split it all up today, don't they? Delaney asked. Like dividing spoils. I touched the window glass. They never asked why Grandma's hospital bills were paid. Never questioned who was handling her finances those last months. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Iris in the family chat. The house alone is worth $890,000 in this market. We should consider selling rather than letting Mum move in. Garrett replied instantly. Agreed. I know a developer. I watched Mum shake her head at her phone, then type. This was my childhood home. We're not selling to developers. Then buy us out, Sonia chimed in. I have expenses to cover. Through the window, I could see them all typing furiously, barely looking at each other despite being in the same room. The irony wasn't lost on me. Another text from Thomas. They're fighting over furniture now. Your aunt just claimed the writing desk was promised to her. The desk Grandma and I refinished together last summer, I replied. The one she specifically left to her bridge partner Rose. The very same. I stood up, smoothing down my simple black dress. Not designer, but well made. By me. I think it's time. You sure? Delaney asked. You could just let the lawyer handle it. No. I picked up my bag, checking that the deed papers were safely inside. Grandma always said face your battles standing up. Besides, I smiled, remembering her last words to me. You've already inherited the best parts of me. What does that mean exactly? Delaney called as I headed for the door. It means I inherited her patience, I said, and her timing. My phone buzzed one final time. Thomas. There's a development. One you'd do well to be present for. They're about to discuss the house. I texted back, on my way, don't start without me. The autumn air was crisp as I walked the 3 blocks to Grandma's house, my house. Through the front windows, I could see them all gathered around the dining room table, faces pinched with anticipation and greed. None of them looked up when I climbed the porch steps. None of them heard the key slide into the lock, the key that had been in my possession for months. None of them noticed me standing in the doorway, watching their reflections in Grandma's antique mirror. But they would, very soon. I took a slow sip of my iced coffee and cleared my throat. Afternoon. The room froze. 5 heads snapped toward me, with expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed contempt. Mum recovered first, her perfectly lined lips pressing into a thin smile. Giselle, this is a private family matter. Is it? I settled into Grandma's favourite armchair, the one by the window. Please, don't let me interrupt. Thomas shuffled his papers, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Actually, your timing is perfect. We were just about to discuss the estate's primary asset. The house, Iris said quickly, straightening her designer blazer, which, given market conditions, should be discussed after we address the smaller bequests, Thomas cut in. He pulled out a sealed envelope. Jacqueline was very specific about the order. Mum's fingers drummed against the table. We've waited long enough. The house first. The pearls, Aunt Sonia interrupted, touching her throat. She promised these to me years ago. Actually, Thomas said, consulting his notes, the pearls are bequeathed to Rose Henderson, her bridge partner of 20 years. The silence was delicious. Sonia's hand dropped from her neck like the fake pearls had burned her. That's impossible, she sputtered. I was here at the end. I managed her medications. Did you? I couldn't help myself. Funny I never saw you at the 8 a.m. pill times. Or the 2 p.m. checks. Or the midnight doses. Garrett leaned forward, his startup CEO pose somewhat deflated. Let's focus on the significant assets. The property is no longer part of the estate, Thomas said quietly. The bomb dropped. 5 faces went from confusion to disbelief to something approaching panic. Mom stood up so quickly her chair scraped the hardwood. What do you mean, not part of the estate? Thomas opened another envelope, this one thick with legal documents. The property was transferred legally and permanently, while Jacqueline was still alive. Here's the deed transfer, dated and notarized 4 months ago. That's fraud, Mom snapped. She would never. She would, and she did, I said, taking a long sip of my coffee. Right after I paid off her mortgage. The room exploded. Iris knocked over her water glass. Garrett started frantically typing on his phone. Sonia burst into theatrical tears. You? Mum's voice could have frozen hell. You couldn't even afford a real job. How could you possibly... My Etsy shop grossed 6 figures last year, I said calmly. Turns out people will pay good money for arts and crafts when they're actually art. But you'd know that if you'd ever bothered to look. This is ridiculous! Iris stood up, her perfect composure cracking. You manipulated a sick old woman. I have video, Thomas interrupted, of the signing. Standard procedure for significant transfers. Jacqueline was quite clear about her intentions. He placed a laptop on the table and hit play. Grandma's face filled the screen, her eyes sharp and clear. I'm transferring my property to my granddaughter Giselle, her voice rang out, strong despite her illness. She has shown not just financial responsibility, but the kind of care and attention that proves she understands the true value of a home. This is my choice, made with full mental capacity and without any coercion. Mum sank back into her chair, her face ashen. Mother, how could you? She did try to tell you, I said softly. All those times you were too busy for Sunday tea, too important for hospital visits, too occupied with your image to notice she needed actual help. We'll contest it, Garrett declared, already in lawyer mode. We'll prove. You'll prove what? Thomas asked mildly. That you were also attentive to Jacqueline's needs. The visitor logs show Giselle was there daily. The bank records show she paid the mortgage. The nurse's notes document who handled medications and care coordination. Sonia's tears dried up remarkably fast. But the furniture, the valuables, are mostly being donated to the women's shelter downtown, I finished. Grandma's idea. She said they could help women starting over. You planned this, Mum whispered, her voice shaking. All this time, playing the poor artistic failure, you were plotting... No, Mum. I was just being there, being present, something you taught me the value of by never doing it yourself. The silence that followed was heavy with years of dismissal, of mockery, of calculated exclusion. I stood up, smoothing my dress. You're all welcome to stay for the rest of the reading, I said. There are still some items to discuss, but you should know, this is my house now. And unlike some people, I believe in honouring Grandma's wishes. Iris grabbed her designer bag. This isn't over. Actually, Thomas said, closing his laptop, legally it very much is. I walked to the window and adjusted Grandma's lace curtains, the ones she'd taught me to mend last spring while everyone else was too busy to visit. Take your time processing this, I said to their reflected faces. I know how important processing is. After all, I've had years of practice processing your opinions of me. The wind chime I'd hung yesterday tinkled softly, its broken pieces making unexpected music. Mum's perfectly manicured hands were shaking as she gripped her designer handbag. "You can't possibly manage this house. You make trinkets for a living." I pulled out my phone, opened my Etsy shop analytics. "Want to see what trinkets paid off Grandma's $30,000 mortgage?" I turned the screen toward her. "Or should we talk about the viral video that funded her last 3 months of in-home care?" "Anyone can get lucky online," Iris sneered, but her eyes widened at the numbers. "Luck!" I scrolled through my sales history. Try 18-hour days, try learning photography, marketing, SEO, try building something from nothing while you all laughed at my little hobby. Garrett stepped forward, adjusting his tie. "Look, let's be reasonable. I can offer you fair market value for the property. Say 600,000. "The house is worth 890, I replied calmly. "You're in over your head," he pressed. "Property taxes, maintenance, insurance, all factored into my business plan. Would you like to see the spreadsheets?" Mum's composure finally cracked. "This is absurd. You're a nobody with a glue gun. You make jewellery in your bedroom while real people build real careers." The words echoed off the walls I'd helped Grandma repaint last summer while they were all too busy to visit. "Funny thing about making something from scraps," I said, running my hand along the antique sideboard Grandma and I had restored together. "You learn what actually holds value, what's worth saving, what's worth fighting for." I walked to my craft room, formerly the sunroom, where my latest collection was laid out. Pieces that had already pre-sold for thousands each. "See these?" I held up a necklace. "Made from broken vintage brooches Grandma gave me. The ones you called worthless junk at Christmas. They're being featured in next month's Vogue." Sonia's fake pearls clinked as she shook her head. "You're lying." "Thomas?" I nodded to him. He pulled up the magazine's website on his laptop, showing my upcoming feature. "This is what you were doing?" Mum's voice was barely a whisper. "All those times you said you were working." "No," I corrected her. "All those times I was building an empire. The difference is I did it while also being here for Grandma." I opened my gallery of photos on my phone. Grandma and me having tea in the garden, us working on craft projects together, her teaching me to mend her vintage lace tablecloths. "She wasn't just giving me the house," I said softly. "She was giving me her legacy, the one none of you wanted until it had a price tag." Garrett's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then paled. The tech blogs picked up the story. Artisan turned mogul inherits family estate after caring for grandmother. "Impossible!" Iris grabbed his phone. "How did they—" "I document everything online," I shrugged. "My followers have watched me build this business while helping Grandma. They've seen every dismissive comment, every missed holiday, every time you called my work worthless." Mum sank into a chair. "You've made us look horrible." "No," I said quietly. "You did that yourselves. I just didn't hide it." Thomas cleared his throat. "There's still the matter of the remaining bequests." "What's left?" Sonia asked bitterly. "She's given everything else away." "Actually," Thomas pulled out another envelope. "Jacqueline left specific instructions about the house." Everyone tensed. I smiled, knowing what was coming. To my family," Thomas read, "who have always valued status above all else. If you wish to remain connected to this home, you may do so, as tenants. Giselle has my blessing to rent rooms at market rate." The silence was spectacular. "You can't be serious," Iris sputtered. "Rent?" Mum looked like she'd swallowed something sour. "From her?" "Market rate in this neighbourhood is quite steep," I noted. "But I'm sure with your real careers, you can afford it." Garrett's phone buzzed again. "The story's trending. Our clients are starting to ask questions." "Then perhaps," I suggested, "you should consider your next moves carefully. The internet loves a redemption arc almost as much as it loves eating the rich." I walked to the front door and opened it. The afternoon light caught my wind chime, sending fragments of rainbow across their shocked faces. "You're all welcome to stay and finish the reading," I said. "Or you can leave now and contact my lawyer later about rental applications. Either way, I have a Vogue photo shoot to prepare for." Mum stood up, her legs unsteady. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is." I touched the deed in my pocket. "But if you'd like to stay connected to Grandma's memory, I hear there's a lovely efficiency apartment opening up in the basement. Great for starting over. One by one they filed past me, their designer clothes and fake pearls somehow less impressive than before. As the door closed behind them, I heard Grandma's voice in my head. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people live with their choices. I turned to Thomas. Shall we finish the reading? I believe there's still the matter of her art collection. He smiled. The ones you helped her curate, of course. The wind chime sang softly in the breeze, its broken pieces creating something unexpectedly beautiful, just like Grandma taught me. The first attack came 3 days later. Iris posted a tearful Instagram story about elder abuse and manipulation, carefully edited to make it seem like I'd pressured Grandma. Within hours, my Etsy shop's reviews were flooded with 1-star ratings. They're coordinating, Delaney said, scrolling through her phone. Your mum's practice just shared an article about protecting vulnerable seniors from artistic scammers. I sipped my tea in Grandma's favourite cup and opened my laptop. Time to show them what real documentation looks like. First, I posted the video of Grandma and me working on jewellery together, her clear voice explaining why she wanted me to have the house. Then came the bank statements showing my mortgage payments. Finally, the nurse's logs documenting every visit, every medication, every moment of care. My phone rang. It was Garrett. Take it down, he demanded. You're making us look terrible. I'm showing the truth. There's a difference. Listen, his voice softened to his businessman tone. Let's be reasonable. I'll offer $750 for the house. Cash. You can keep your little online business. My little business that paid Grandma's bills while your startup tanked? I heard him inhale sharply. By the way, how are those investor lawsuits going? He hung up. 10 minutes later, Aunt Sonia texted, You're killing your mother. She's had to cancel client meetings because of stress. I replied with a photo of Grandma's hospital bills, the ones Mum had been too busy to handle. The next morning, Iris showed up at my door in full influencer mode, camera ready. I thought we could collaborate, she said brightly. Turn this whole thing into a positive story. My followers would love a family reconciliation piece. Like the reconciliation you posted about last Christmas. I pulled up her old post. The one where you called my handmade gifts sad attempts at relevance. Her smile cracked slightly. That was before. We can rebrand this. No thanks. I prefer authentic content. That afternoon, Mum's lawyer sent a letter threatening to contest the deed transfer. I forwarded it to Thomas, who responded with Grandma's video will, medical competency evaluation, and notarized statements from her doctors. They're getting desperate, Delaney observed, as we watched Sonia's car circle the block for the 3rd time. What do you think they'll try next? Something stupid, I predicted. I was right. That evening, my social media exploded with posts about my unstable behaviour and concerning patterns. Old family photos, carefully selected to make me look isolated and angry. High school incidents rewritten to paint me as troubled. But they'd forgotten something crucial. I had receipts, years of saved texts, emails and videos. Every dismissive comment, every missed holiday, every time they belittled my choices, all documented. Your mother's on the phone, Thomas called the next morning. She's threatening to go public with claims about your grandmother's mental state. Perfect. I opened my files. Tell her I have 6 months of recorded conversations with Grandma's medical team, plus documentation of how often each family member visited. Should I release those visitor logs? The threat disappeared. Delaney watched me update my shop's about page with the real story. You knew they'd do this, didn't you? That's why you kept everything. Grandma taught me more than just crafting, I said, adding photos of our time together. She taught me to prepare for storms. My phone buzzed. A message from a cousin I barely knew. I saw what they're doing to you. I have screenshots of them planning this in another group chat. Want them? I did. And I posted those too. The public response was immediate and overwhelming. Orders flooded my shop. Comments poured in from people sharing similar stories of family betrayal. My following tripled overnight. You're trending again, Delaney announced. Justice for Giselle is taking off. But victory felt hollow when my mother's contact photo lit up my phone that evening. I answered, bracing myself. Why are you doing this to us? Her voice was raw. We're your family. Family? I walked to the window where Grandma and I used to sit. Family shows up. family supports. Family doesn't plot social media attacks because they lost an inheritance they didn't earn. I lost my mother, she whispered. No, I corrected gently. You lost her long before she died. You just didn't notice because you were too busy counting what she was worth. After I hung up, I found a letter in Grandma's desk. Dated just weeks before she died, it read, Dearest Giselle, be careful what power makes of you. Revenge satisfies for a moment, but grace lasts forever. I was still holding it when my phone buzzed with a notification. Mum's law firm had filed suit to contest the will. Delaney peered over my shoulder at the legal document. What are you going to do? I touched the wind chime, watching its broken pieces catch the light. Exactly what Grandma would do. Fight with grace, win with receipts. The war wasn't over, but I had truth on my side and years of documented ammunition. Let them come. The courthouse buzzed with whispers as my family filed in, a parade of designer suits and practiced sympathy faces. Mum sat at the plaintiff's table, back rigid, while Iris, Garrett and Sonia filled the front row like a Greek chorus of disapproval. Ready? Thomas asked, arranging our documents. I touched Grandma's brooch pinned to my blazer, handmade, of course. Born ready. Their lawyer stood first, painting a picture of a vulnerable elderly woman, manipulated by her unstable granddaughter. He presented carefully edited photos. Me looking angry at family gatherings, conveniently cropping out what caused those reactions. Bank statements showing large transfers without context. Social media posts taken out of context. And where were you, Thomas asked during cross-examination, when Jacqueline needed her medications at 2 a.m? Mum shifted uncomfortably. I have a demanding career. Yes or no, please. Were you there? No. And who was? Silence. The records show, Thomas continued, that Giselle was there, every night, for months, while running a successful business. Would you like to see the nurse's logs? Their lawyer tried another angle. We have evidence of concerning behaviour. You mean like this? Thomas played a video on the courtroom screen. It showed Iris and Garrett planning their social media attack, discussing how to make her look crazy. The judge leaned forward. Is this authenticated? Yes, Your Honour, with metadata and witness statements. Mum's lawyer scrambled. We have letters showing Jacqueline's intention to divide the estate equally. Interesting, Thomas interrupted. Because we have the original letters. He held up a stack. These others appear to be altered. Would the court like to compare timestamps and handwriting? The judge's expression darkened. I would indeed. But the real bombshell came next. Thomas stood, remote in hand. Your Honour, Jacqueline Webb left a video will. With your permission. The screen lit up. Grandma appeared, sitting in her favourite chair, looking directly into the camera. If this is being played, then my family has done exactly what I expected. Her voice was clear, strong. They've attacked Giselle, claimed manipulation, tried to paint her as unstable, just as they've done her entire life. Mum's face went pale. My daughter Maeve, Grandma continued, has always sought control, not legacy. She measures worth in dollars, not deeds. The others follow her lead, valuing status over substance. The courtroom was silent except for Sonia's sharp intake of breath. I gave my house to Giselle not just because she earned it with her care and financial support, but because she understands what makes a home. While they were posting photos of their vacations, she was helping me with physical therapy. While they were buying luxury cars, she was paying my mortgage. Tears rolled down my cheeks as Grandma's image smiled. I'm not being manipulated. I'm rewarding the only person who saw me as more than a bank account. The video continued, methodically addressing and dismantling every possible legal challenge. When it ended, the judge removed her glasses. Does the plaintiff wish to continue? Mum's lawyer leaned over to whisper urgently in her ear. She shook her head defeated. No, Your Honour. Then I'm prepared to rule. The judge's voice was steel. The deed transfer stands. Furthermore, I'm deeply concerned about the attempted character assassination and fraudulent evidence presented. I'll be referring this matter to the Bar Association. Mum's lawyer blanched. Case dismissed. The gallery erupted in murmurs. As people filed out, I heard snippets of conversation. Did you see those fake letters? Can't believe they tried to frame her. That video will was brilliant. Mum remained seated, staring at nothing. I walked past her, pausing briefly. You know what's ironic? I said softly. All I ever wanted was your approval. Now I have something better, Grandma's trust. In the hallway, Iris tried one last time. We can still fix this, make it a family healing story. My followers would... Your followers, I cut in, have already seen the truth. Check your engagement rates. Garrett stepped forward, ever the businessman. Look, we all made mistakes, but maybe we can... Can what? I asked. Pretend you didn't try to destroy me? Forget how you treated Grandma? Some things can't be fixed with a checkbook. Outside, autumn leaves swirled around the courthouse steps. Delaney waited with a coffee and a hug. How does it feel to win? I watched my family emerge, separated now by more than just legal decisions. Mum wouldn't meet my eyes. Iris was already on her phone, probably doing damage control. Garrett looked lost without a deal to negotiate. It feels... I touched Grandma's brooch again. It feels like something she said once. Victory without grace is just another form of defeat. So what now? I smiled, thinking of the wind chime at home, its broken pieces making beautiful music. Now we build something new, something better. Behind us, the courthouse doors closed with a final heavy thud. The housewarming party filled Grandma's home, my home, with the kind of warmth that had been missing for years. Artists, creators and friends mingled in rooms that once echoed with judgment and criticism. My latest collection hung in the converted sunroom, ceramic wind chimes made from broken family mementos, each telling its own story of transformation. These are incredible, a gallery owner said, touching one gently. The way you've merged the broken pieces. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mom standing there, looking smaller somehow, without her usual armour of designer labels. I wasn't sure I'd be welcome, she said quietly. That depends, I replied. Are you here as my mother, or as a potential tenant? She flinched but held her ground. I'm here because I found this. She held out a photo album. Pictures of you and Mum, from all those days I wasn't there. I let her in, watching as she took in the changes. The formal sitting room was now a creative workspace. The dining room displayed my most successful pieces. Grandma's tea set sat proudly in the centre, still used daily. You've made it beautiful, she whispered. It was always beautiful, you just never stayed long enough to notice. The party flowed around us like water around stones. Mum paused at a particularly striking wind chime, the one made from her old broken tennis trophy, the one she'd thrown away years ago. Is that? Yes. Grandma saved it. Said everything broken has potential. Delaney appeared with drinks. Your latest Instagram post is blowing up. The one about turning family pain into art. Before I could respond, the door burst open. Iris swept in, camera ready, wearing what had to be a month's rent in silk. Perfect timing. I brought my interior design team. We simply must collaborate on... No, I said simply. This isn't a photo op. But think of the exposure. My followers would... Your followers already saw the real story, I reminded her. Or did you forget the courthouse videos? Garrett materialised behind her, looking uncomfortable in his casual, trying too hard outfit. Look, about the lawsuit. It was just business. No, I corrected. It was family, which is why it hurt more. The wind chimes tinkled as more guests arrived. Real friends, fellow artists, people who'd supported my work before it went viral. The contrast between them and my blood relatives couldn't have been starker. I made mistakes, Mum said suddenly. We all did. Yes, I agreed. The question is, what are you going to do about it? She opened the photo album, hands trembling slightly. I want to understand, to see what I missed. I took the album, added it to a shelf already full of documented memories. Understanding starts with presence. Not just when it's convenient. Not just when there's something to gain. Sonia chose that moment to make her entrance, dripping in real pearls this time. Darling, the house looks interesting. Very artistic. Though if you'd like some proper decorating advice... The house looks exactly as it should, I cut in. Like someone who values creation over consumption lives here. The wind chimes sang louder as the evening breeze picked up. Each broken piece caught the light differently, creating patterns on the walls that looked almost like tears. I'd like to try, Mum said softly, to be present, to understand. I studied her face, really looked at it for the first time in years. saw the new lines around her eyes, the uncertainty in her expression, the cost of always maintaining perfect control. "There's space for visitors," I said finally. "No room for invaders." Iris huffed. "This is ridiculous. We're family." "Family shows up," I replied. "Family supports. Family doesn't need a viral story to care." I raised my glass, addressing the room at large. "To inheritance. Not of things, but of patterns. Some of which I'm done repeating." The party continued, but my family drifted toward the door one by one. Mum lingered last, touching the wind chime made from her old trophy. "You made something beautiful from what I threw away," she said. "That's what artists do. We see potential in broken things." After they left, Delaney helped me collect empty glasses. "You okay?" I touched each wind chime gently, making them sing. "You know what Grandma used to say about broken pieces? That they catch the light in ways perfect things never can." The house felt different now, cleaner somehow, as if the air itself had been purified. My phone buzzed with messages from Mom, Iris, Garrett, all seeking different forms of absolution or advantage. I left them unread. Instead, I sat in Grandma's favourite chair, my chair now, and watched the sunset paint the walls with light filtered through broken, beautiful things. Each piece telling its own story of what was lost, what was found, and what could still be made whole. Not perfect, but whole, just like Grandma taught me. The morning sun filtered through my latest wind chime, this one made entirely of clear glass, catching light without shadows. My Etsy notifications pinged steadily as I sipped coffee in Grandma's sunroom, now my primary workspace. "Another order from Australia," Delaney called from her laptop, "and 3 more commissions for custom pieces." The doorbell rang. I opened it to find a young woman, maybe 20, clutching one of my business cards. "I'm Hannah," she said nervously. "Your cousin Hayden's daughter. I know we've never met, but—" I invited her in, noting how she gravitated immediately toward the craft table. "Mum said you turned broken things into art," she continued, pulling something from her bag. "I have these pieces of my grandmother's mirror. As we worked together, fitting fragments into a pattern, Hannah told me about her own struggles with family expectations, how she wanted to study photography instead of business, how her mother, my distant cousin, had shown her my story. It changed things at home," she said, carefully wrapping wire around a glass shard. Mum actually listened when I explained about art school. Said something about patterns worth breaking. My phone buzzed. Mum's weekly check-in text, not asking for anything, just sharing a memory she'd found of Grandma. Small steps, but real ones. "Your work is amazing," Hannah said, examining the wind chimes. "How did you learn to see the potential in broken things?" Before I could answer, another ring at the door. This time it was Rose, Grandma's bridge partner, with her granddaughter Emily. "Hope we're not interrupting," Rose said, hugging me. "Emily's starting an online jewellery business. I thought maybe—" "Perfect timing," I smiled. "We're having an impromptu workshop." Soon the sunroom filled with creative energy. Hannah and Emily exchanged Instagram handles. Rose told stories about Grandma that made me laugh and cry at once. The wind chimes sang with every breeze. "I'm starting a program," I announced, watching them work. "The Jacqueline Initiative. Microloans and mentoring for young artists starting their own businesses." "Like what Grandma did for you?" Hannah asked. "Exactly, but bigger, better." I showed them the website mock-up. "Every piece of art sold contributes to the fund." My phone buzzed again, Iris this time. Her interior design business was struggling after the lawsuit fallout. She was asking about collaboration, but differently now, humbler. "Still not sure about that one," I murmured. "What would Grandma say?" Rose asked gently. I touched the wind chime made from Mum's trophy. "She'd say revenge satisfies for a moment, but grace lasts forever." Emily held up her first wrapped wire piece. "Is this right?" "There's no right in art," I said, echoing Grandma's words. "There's only true and false. Is it true to what you want to say?" The afternoon light shifted, casting rainbow patterns through all the wind chimes. Hannah photographed them for her portfolio. Emily took notes on wire wrapping techniques. Rose made tea in Grandma's cups. My phone lit up with a message from Thomas. "Jacqueline Initiative paperwork is filed. You're officially a non-profit." I smiled, remembering Grandma's words about inheritance, about how the most valuable things can't be measured in dollars. I want to apply, Hannah said suddenly, for the initiative. I have designs. Me too, Emily chimed in. Grandma Rose says creative people need to stick together. The wind chimes sang louder, as if in agreement. I looked around the room, at the broken pieces made whole, at the young artists finding their voices, at the legacy growing beyond blood ties. You know what Grandma told me once, I said, helping Hannah adjust her wire technique. She said a true inheritance isn't what you get, it's what you give. Rose nodded, tears in her eyes. That sounds like Jackie. My phone buzzed one final time. Mum. Found more photos. Can I bring them by? Just to share, not to stay. I replied, tea at 4. Bring your broken pieces. We'll make something new. The afternoon stretched on, full of creativity and connection. Hannah and Emily planned a joint show. Rose shared more grandma stories. The wind chimes danced in the light. This was the real victory, not the house, not the lawsuit, not even the viral vindication. It was sitting in a room full of broken, beautiful things being made whole. It was watching new artists find their courage. It was building something bigger than revenge. What should we call this? Hannah asked, holding up our collaborative piece. The one we all worked on? I thought of Grandma, of inheritance, of patterns broken and remade. Legacy, I said. We'll call it Legacy. The wind chimes agreed, singing their symphony of broken pieces made beautiful. Just like she taught me, just like I was teaching others, just like it should be.